Hey, this is Tim Clancy for the National Coordinator Selection Process. Got the questions and responses out, so I'd like to share a couple videos with my responses in them, and let's get to it. This is question one. It has to do with interpretation of the social media policy. And again, everything is like, share, follow the video, and everything you need, all the links to all this, it's in the comments below the video on the YouTube. So the question is, how do you interpret the social media policy where it pertains to the respect we are supposed to show other members? So let's get to it. So first of all, experience. I was the ANC arbitration when this policy first got put into place. So I was involved in some of the very first cases that came out. And I think it gets enforced a lot less than people think. If you look in the report that I'll link below, there's not as many social media cases. I think people think this is a huge thing. But part of what I notice is whenever there are sort of ambiguous standards, there's a lot of anxiety over how they're going to be enforced, especially in areas where we're not very confident about how our other members are going to behave. Conversely, where you have really high standards, but you also have confidence that everyone's going to hold to them, these things aren't necessarily as big of a concern. So my answer is the question of social media is really a subset. The club itself should have high standards, and we should hold people to them. And I think if we did that, we'd have a lot less of this kind of ambiguity and nervousness, because everyone in the club would sort of be in the same principles. And this isn't just like what you post on social media, high standards. I mean high standards in that you're not going out hunting social media looking to weaponize the club rules to target other people. It's give and take, right? Just imagine a club where you log in, you see the people who are your friends or people you know in the club, and you may not agree with them on everything. You can disagree. There can be some back and forth, but it's not a super negative experience. It's not super toxic. There are so many places in our world right now that we're just getting online and interacting with other people has become difficult. Our club shouldn't be that place. And it's interesting because I have this experience. I mentioned it in the text answer. But I'm part of another organization that I didn't even realize had a social media policy. And I had this kind of every day I'd log in, have a good experience. It was, you see people post like, hey, what's that person doing? I want to see what they're doing. But then I found out we had a social media policy, and it was pretty strict. It was like, all your posts are permanent, whether you make them private or not. They're out there on the internet. How you reflect your organization, the organization you're a member of, it's going to be out there and influence public opinion. If they can figure out you're a person of our organization, it doesn't matter if it's tagged or not. They're going to reflect upon that organization, and therefore your interactions on social medias needs to be the highest level of integrity and morality. And this stunned me. It was the first time I'd ever seen a social media policy that said your behavior should be the highest possible on social media. Well, what was interesting is it took me about 30 seconds to realize, okay, I didn't really care. Everyone I had seen was already living that lifestyle. They were already embodying those principles, embodying that philosophy in their daily behaviors. It wasn't something that had to be heavily policed because we were already there. And it is really refreshing to have that experience. And I know there are some people on principle who are like, I don't want the club policing my social media. I'm going to quit. Well, that's a choice, and I respect that. There's rooms for those things, but I'm telling you, there are a lot of gamers out there in the community right now who would absolutely love to have a place where they can go and they can have positive interactions, and social media isn't this kind of toxic place that it can frequently become to be. So that's kind of my answer. The policies for interpretation of social media are a subset of the overall club principles, and we need to make high standards and hold everyone to them. So again, make your voices heard. Go ahead and like, share, follow, and I'll be doing these recordings for all the presentations. So stay tuned and more will come. Thank you very much.